What's up, guys? Collin from Built to Wander out here on the Peterson's 4x4 Rally to SEMA with Optima Batteries. I've got Matt Thompson with me, and we are on an off-road trip from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, just ahead of the SEMA Show. We brought out 2 builds with us this year, and we're gonna go through those in depth, but first we wanted to take you on this journey with us. Before we get started, like this video, subscribe to the Driving Line channel. Let's get after it. Started off with some lunch at Pappy and Harriet's, a great little barbecue spot, and rallied the group, and now we're getting ready to head off for our first section of dirt through Joshua Tree, and should be a fun adventure.
What's up, guys? Matt Thompson from 3D Off-Road. Guys, I'm out here in the Peterson 4x4 Rally to SEMA. Can't wait to show you guys the M715 and get off-road in this thing. It's going to be an off-road trail all the way to Las Vegas, and I'm super pumped for this experience.
Day 1 Rally to SEMA just made it to Auto Camp, where we will be staying for the night. The old M715 did great on its maiden voyage. Matt, what'd you think, man? You've been working hard on it the last 5 weeks. How'd it feel to go out and do some wheeling?
I'm so impressed with this thing. Like, you know, obviously we got to do some fine tuning to it, but as that goes with all new builds, but super impressed that we made it on the first part of the journey, and tomorrow we'll finish this up.
All right, day 2 on the Peterson 4x4 Rally to SEMA. We had a great time last night, had dinner at the Kitchen in the Desert, which was a really cool setup for our group. Watched a drive-in movie, and honestly I had never been to one, so that was really fun. And we stayed at the Auto Camp Hotel, which was a bunch of Airstreams, and that was honestly really unique and rad as well. So woke up this morning, had some coffee, regrouped, and now we're getting ready to head out in the M715, hit the trail for day 2. And today we will be making our way to Las Vegas for the SEMA Show, get this thing on display for the world to see. So far having a blast out here, stoked to be on this adventure, grateful to Optima for having us, and can't wait to have more fun today. Making our way to SEMA, we just crossed over the Route 66, and as you can see, there's an old motel sign behind me. We've been on the road so far today, but it's been a beautiful day, clear skies. We're having a blast. We should be hitting dirt here pretty soon, which will drop us nearby Vegas. So far it's been awesome, and it's kind of cool to be sitting on Route 66, quite the historical road. And yeah, so far day 2 is off to a great start. Just finished 30 miles of dirt in the Mojave Desert, and it was absolutely epic. Cutting through Joshua trees and just so much fun. This thing has done remarkably well considering how quickly Matt was able to put it together. And now we're on our final stretch to SEMA. We've got about an hour of highway ahead of us, so we're gonna hit the road, get to our hotel, have a closing dinner, and then the show starts tomorrow. So stoked to see, you know, what's in store for us tonight, but so far day 2's been pretty rad. All right, so we made it to SEMA. We had an absolute blast on the Rally to SEMA with Optima Batteries. And behind me is the chassis to our 1975 International Scout 2 in the S-Pod booth. So I wanted to start by walking around this, and then we'll move on to our 1967 Kaiser Jeep M715 that you saw in the rally. So Matt Thompson and his team at 3D Off-Road absolutely crushed the build on this chassis. And of course, we don't have the body on. That's the next phase of the build and something we'll be focusing on in 2025. But what we have accomplished so far is just mind-blowing, and I'm so excited for you guys to see it. Starting with wheels and tires, we've got this thing sitting on a set of 37-inch Nitto tire Recon grapplers. This is a true all-terrain. It's gonna be a great driving tire. We plan to do a lot of road miles on this build and doing different hot rod tours, car shows. This is a nice, comfortable, quiet tire, but if we ever get the itch to get this thing off-road, and I'm sure we will, it's got a nice aggressive tread pattern that'll do really well in places like Colorado. So we've also mounted those to a set of 17-inch KMC IMS wheels. We've got a nice positive offset that will allow the wheel and tire to fit under the body once this thing is complete. So really stoked with how those came out. It's a super fresh looking wheel. Of course, we didn't do a beadlock, we didn't need them for this build, but it allows us to kind of keep things a little lighter weight. Now, the biggest, most pivotal part of this chassis is the supercharged Hellcat crate engine. This is a AMW 4x4 turnkey conversion, 700 horsepower. We worked with AMW. We have a standalone wiring harness for this so it'll work flawlessly inside of our 1975 Scout 2. And it's behind an 8 HP 75 transmission. We've got the Rubicon 4-to-1 transfer case. It's essentially Jeep powertrain. And I think it's really unique. You know, we've only really seen one Scout with a Hellcat. It was rear wheel drive only. This thing will be a 4x4 and it's sure to turn heads. It'll be quite different, but I'm super excited about the powertrain. We've got 1350 series Adams drive shafts going from the transfer case to the front and rear axles. Out back, we've got a Currie low pinion 60. So this has 40 spline shafts. It's a semi-float axle. And what was cool about doing the semi-float is it's a Jeep JL bolt pattern. The reason we did that was because we could add all OEM unit bearings, OEM Jeep brakes, and outer components. So if we ever have to replace a part, it'll be really easy to find those at a local hardware store. Up front, we have a Currie high pinion 44, and this will have 35 spline shafts. We've got Eaton E-lockers front and rear. And the reason we did a 44 up front was because the packaging. We really probably couldn't have fit anything bigger underneath the front end of this thing. And as you can see, it fits perfectly. And we're really excited to have the quality that Currie's known for underneath our vehicle. We've got Rock Jock high steer and their high steer JL knuckle kit. This thing's gonna drive like a dream. Now suspension, we've got Bilstein coilovers front and rear. This is a 12-inch shock in the front. We work with Bilstein to add their Blackhawk finned reservoirs. These are off their UTV shocks, but they've got dual speed adjustability so we can adjust compression at high and low speeds and really fine tune the suspension. So it's kind of nice having those click adjusters. Beautiful shock package. In the rear, we have 16 inches of travel out of a 10-inch shock, and that's because of Matt's ingenious cantilever design. So I'm still wrapping my head around how this thing works, but we've basically got the shock mounted horizontally to the frame rails. And the reason we did a cantilever is because we can get a lot more travel out of a smaller shock. So it kind of creates a really nice packaging. This might be one of the first Scouts ever built with cantilever kit. And again, you know, Matt's shop, 3D Off-Road, they're different by design. They pride themselves in doing things differently and pushing that envelope. And you can really see their craft here at work on this chassis. So 4-link rear, 3-link front. We've got Rock Jock control arms with Johnny joints and rock nuts. They allow these things to stay nice and tight. It's a really nice design. We run them on all of our Jeeps. We've got a lot of hard off-road miles on those things. They've really proven themselves to work well. And so we're stoked to kind of carry those over to the Scout. One of the reasons this thing's in the S-Pod booth is we've got a nice live S-Pod display here. So Optima battery powering an S-Pod unit. We've got our lights up front on the bumper. We've got reverse lights. We've got rock lights. As you can see, we can turn those on and off right here. We have a fan mounted up front. You can hear that fire up. So it's cool, you know, people can come up, actually play around with the chassis, this interactive S-Pod display, really see how that's wired in. And so we're really excited about that opportunity, especially to show off the chassis here with S-Pod. Super stoked. Rear bumper from Custom Scouts. It's period correct. It looks like the old worn bumpers that you would see on these vintage 4x4s, but we integrated some S2 Pro reverse lights, flush mount from Baja Designs. As you can see, it's a really clean design. This is a brand new bumper from Custom Scouts out of Canada. I'm sure you're gonna start seeing these on more vintage Scouts, but we're excited to be the first chassis that these are on. So the front end matches the rear, but what's kind of cool is instead of having like a top mounted winch that oftentimes blocks airflow through the grille, it's actually mounted underneath. So they've got this integrated skid plate. Behind it is our worn winch. We've got a factor 55 fair lead on it in the Ultra hook, and it just creates a really clean packaging. There's also a ton of other details that the naked eye just can't see. For instance, these body mounts. You know, Matt Thompson went through, replaced all of the body mounts, fabricated new box mounts. They look beautiful. We've even got our rock lights mounted to them. And you know, the little things, the brackets for the rock lights were designed and built by 3D Off-Road. We've got PRP limit straps for suspension. I mean, the list goes on. There's so much going on here, but overall, really stoked with this entire setup. I know we've got a lot of work ahead of us to get it done, but I'm excited to bring this old vintage 4x4 to life, and really floored with the quality of work that Matt and his team down at 3D Off-Road have put into it, and can't wait to see this thing on the road here shortly. All right, so we're out in the bronze lot for SEMA Fest, where the 67 Kaiser M715 is gonna be on display, and finally have a chance to walk around this thing. And I apologize for some background noise. We got people drifting. Of course, all the madness of SEMA going on behind us. So first of all, this is really quite the project. 3D Off-Road built this in 5 weeks time, which is insane. Everybody down at the shop around the clock for 5 weeks, just busting their tail. So can't thank those guys enough for having put this thing together so well in that time frame. But we built it on a set of 42-inch Nitto trail grapplers, one of my favorite tires. It's just the perfect versatile tire for Colorado. The trail grappler just excels everywhere and is comfortable on road too. We've got a set of 20-inch KMC bead locks. They really pop underneath this thing, and the 42 just kind of fits the profile of how big this Jeep is, and so I think looks really nice under there. The next thing I'd talk about is suspension. This has Bilstein shock absorbers, coilovers, and bypass shocks on all four corners. Up front we have 12-inch travel shocks. In the back, Matt built a full trailing arm setup. So we've got 12-inch travel shocks, but we're getting 20 inches of wheel travel thanks to that setup. And as you can see, it's pretty beefy, looks absolutely incredible underneath this thing. And after driving it through the desert on our way to SEMA, I can say that it works. Yeah, we've got some shock tuning to do, but in general, we literally built this thing, took it off-road, and it proved just how well it works and how awesome it's gonna be for all the adventures to come. The other really awesome thing about this is the overlanding setup. This is kind of like one of the first overlanding style builds that we've done. And it's got a rooftop tent, 23-0. Off-grid trailers were kind enough to give us that tent, and we'll be excited to go out and do some camping in this thing. We've got two 15-pound power tanks in the bed for onboard air, so when we air down these 42s while we're off-roading, we can air them back up just as quickly. Full-size 42-inch Nitto tire, spared right here in the bed, so if we ever have an issue, it's there. We've got a fridge freezer from ARB in the back on a bed slide, so we can slide that thing out. Cold drinks, cold food. It was really nice to have that on our adventure with Optima on the rally to SEMA. Massive 47-gallon fuel tank with a aluminum skid plate underneath that Matt built in the shop. It's a 14-bolt rear axle, triangulated upper links with those lower trailing arms. We got Bilstein hydraulic bump stops with 3 inches of travel to help soften the hard hits when we bottom out. Matt fully ran a full custom exhaust. This thing has an LS3 motor conversion in it, and it really needs it with these 42s and as big as this truck is, but it drives well, it sounds great, and it looks amazing too. So not only did Matt do all the off-road additions to this thing, but he repainted the whole thing. We had some body work done. We did a Ford Avalanche gray, which I think really pops nicely, and it kind of goes with that old military truck theme. Inside, we've got some PRP seats, PRP harnesses. We've got a PRP steering wheel and quick disconnect. The dash is all really simple. You can see we've got some S-pods in there to control all of our accessories, ARB air lockers, things of that nature. This is the factory soft top, which is pretty awesome. We'll be able to take that thing off, enjoy some open air. Up front, we've got a plethora of Baja Designs lighting. So we've got some LP4 Pros up top in amber and white with a mix of patterns. And then we've got some LP4s in amber here in the grill, which is, I think, is a really nice touch. And then Matt down at the shop had a custom bumper built with some Squadron Pros from Baja Designs there for fog lights. We've got the worn M8274 synthetic winch, which is period correct. This thing is going to be so sick on the trail. It really fits the vibe of the old Jeep truck. Factor 55 fair lead and ultra hook. And this thing is pretty dialed. So really impressed, really proud of Matt down at the shop and his team for putting it together. Can't wait for everybody to come check it out at SEMA. So there you guys have it, our 1967 Kaiser Jeep M715 build and the rolling chassis to our 75 Scout 2 build. Stoked to have these out at SEMA. We had an absolute blast on the rally to SEMA with Optima Batteries. Guys, drop me a comment below. Let me know what you think of our new builds, what you want to see us build next. And as always, hit the like button if you did and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, wander on.
Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button and we'll see you guys next time.